Do you understand me now, human? Stop gawking. It's a simple question. If you can't understand me, say so, or just nod your head. You can do that, can't you? Good. Honestly, this is exactly why I despise interacting with lower life forms. You can take one look at something new and turn into a gibbering mess. It's a wonder you survived so long with instincts like that. Speaking of instincts, are you going to get up or do you plan to keep speaking to me from the ground? What am I? You wouldn't be able to comprehend the word in my language. And I don't see how it matters. If you must have a label for me, then I believe your word, alien, would be closest. Yes, alien. A being of extraterrestrial origin, usually of a higher intelligence. Definitely of a higher intelligence in my case. You do understand your own language, don't you? Are you only now noticing that I'm speaking your language? Here I thought this planet was the only one in your solar system that housed intelligent life. When I put my hand on your head, I created a link between our minds. I kept it open just long enough to absorb your knowledge of language. Learning your language through study would be a simple task, but I was tired of you looking at me like I was some sort of mindless creature. Believe me, I wouldn't have been willing to touch you otherwise. Now that we've dispensed with the obvious, tell me, how long is it until sunrise? Yes, sunrise. I loathe having to repeat myself this much. How long until the sun comes up? What? That can't be right. Are you sure? That's perfect. That's just perfect. It's just my luck that I'd crash onto the dark side of this wretched planet. I need to know when sunrise is because I need sunlight to leave. At the moment, I don't have the strength to escape your planet's gravitational pull. I take it your species doesn't take energy from the sun, then? Oh, wonderful. You get your energy through consumption. How vulgar. Is there anything else about this miserable place I should know? I didn't mean to land on this planet, you dull creature. I was passing by and struck something on the edge of your orbit. It wasn't a meteor or asteroid. The edges were sharp. Some kind of metallic alloy. It tore through my wing before I had a chance to react. Of course my wings look fine now. Small injuries like that only linger on inferior beings. The energy expenditure to heal it was just higher than anticipated. Which is why I'm still here, speaking to you instead of resuming my journey. Speaking of which, I've learned what I needed from you. Unless you had anything important to tell me, I'll be on my way. I'll fly to a part of your planet where the sun has already risen. And once I'm there... Gah! Don't touch me. I'm fine. I may have underestimated the amount of damage my wings sustained. Some of the smaller bones must still be fractured. It looks as though I'll be waiting for the sun to rise. What do you mean, where am I going to wait? Right here. Do you expect me to dig a hole in the ground like an animal? It's dangerous for me to stay outside. Is the atmosphere toxic in high doses? Or perhaps every night your surface is struck by lightning storms? If it isn't, I doubt it will be much of a problem for me. Just because your species is weak and fragile doesn't mean I am. Other humans. Why would I be afraid of other humans? If you're any indication, the most I'd have to worry about is not stepping on them after they fall to the ground after seeing me. They do what to me? Just what kind of savages are you creatures? That's barbaric! If I were at full strength, I wouldn't have to worry about holding my own against a pack of humans. But then again, if I were at my full strength, I wouldn't be here. This just keeps getting better and better. Tell me, human, do you know of anywhere I can go for the night? You honestly think I'd want to spend the night in close quarters with you? Of all the ridiculous, self-absorbed... I want you to understand something. The only reason I'm doing this is because I prefer it to the alternative. I'd never spend so much time with a lower life form by choice. Don't look at me like that. Let's go. And don't try anything. Do you understand? I may be weakened, but I'm still more powerful than you can imagine. If I think you're going to betray me, I won't hesitate to eliminate you and take my chances outside. My name. We don't have that word in our language. We don't need names. My race doesn't often meet, and when we do, we don't linger. Besides, if we do interact with the same individual more than once, we're able to tell them apart by their energy signature. It has similar functions to... The closest word in your vocabulary is fingerprints. If it bothers you so much, then think of something yourself. I have no intention of putting time and energy towards something so trivial. Angel. That word already exists in your vocabulary, does it not? A being from one of your most popular local mythologies that existed to serve the creator of your world. It lends itself to the word angelic, meaning beautiful. I can't say I appreciate the subservient connotations, but as these names go, that one is sufficient. You may call me Angel. What's that? Tea. That's a form of sustenance on this planet, isn't it? I've already told you, I don't need to eat. Of course I can. I'm able to process almost anything. But why would I want to? It's a disgusting concept, inefficient as well. If I try it, will you stop pestering me? Very well. I'll hold you to that, human. I suppose there's an appeal to it. But I'm only drinking it because you wasted your time making it. I suppose it's better you waste your energy showing me hospitality than something more sinister. How much longer are you going to stand there? You've given me this useless drink. What else do you want? You're going to stay here until sunrise. Don't you have other things you could be doing? You want to talk to me because you're curious about me? I suppose it makes sense. In the presence of a being so much more advanced than your own, it's natural to be curious. Since you've provided me shelter, I'll indulge you, human. Ask your questions. Try to avoid the most obvious ones, though. What was I doing in space? That's a simple enough question. We're a spacefaring race. Once we've been conceived, we're guided just long enough to ensure we've learned the necessary survival tactics. And then we leave. There's a word in your language. Nomadic. That describes us perfectly. As perfectly as your language can, at least. We leave in search of planets to explore. Uninhabited planets, more often than not, at the very least. Planets without much sentient life. Once we've found one we like, we stay there. We'll travel, of course, but we'll always return to that spot. We do it because we're appreciators of beauty. We explore in the hopes of finding the place that speaks to our soul the most, and spending the rest of our existence surrounded by it. When you live as long as we do, you want time to be spent in places that makes you happiest. Peaceful planets where you don't have to worry about anything or anyone else. What did you say? Doesn't it get... what? Lonely. I didn't know there was a word for that sensation. I suppose it can be a bit lonely at times, but that's hardly a problem. What we get in exchange is a far greater reward than anything we could get through simple companionship. I'm tired of this question. You had more, didn't you? So not only do you need to physically consume sustenance, you need to sleep as well. Humans really are inefficient creatures. You fell over somewhere after the 20th question. I was grateful for the quiet, so I didn't wake you. But you're awake now, so I'll be leaving. Yes, leaving. See? The sun's come up. It's time for me to return to my search. I must admit, the sunrises on your planet aren't the worst I've seen. The colors in particular are quite lovely. I suppose this is goodbye then. I won't pretend that I needed your assistance, human. But you have my gratitude, nonetheless. Thank you. How unprecedented. Even your son is inferior here. What I mean is that I overestimated the strength of your son. I assumed it was close enough to provide me with the required energy almost immediately. But it seems I was wrong. I won't be able to leave right now. I'm not sure when I'll be able to leave, in fact. Yes, it's unfortunate. I don't see why you're apologizing to me, though. It's not your fault your planet is like this. There's no point in staying out here and complaining. Let's go back inside. Yes, inside. I'll be staying with you until I can leave this planet. Why wouldn't I? It's bad enough that I had to expose myself to one human. I see no reason to do it again. And after what you said might happen to me if too many humans saw me, I'd rather not risk it. Be quiet and be grateful I've deemed you worthy of housing me. Not many humans would even be privileged enough to see one of my kind, let alone have them in their home. Besides, it's not as though I'll be a burden. I don't need sustenance like you do. Come, you look tired. If you require more sleep, then I don't mind watching over you, since you'll be watching over me. Not as if I need you watching over me, of course.